Welcome, friends, it's the MovieFilm Podcast. MovieFilm Podcast, enjoy the show. Zaki and Brian are talking about movies. MovieFilm Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 59, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zaki and joining me once again is my co-pilot, the Chewbacca to my Batman, Brian Hall.
Hello, Zaki.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing? 59. We're almost at 60.
I know, it's crazy. It's momentous.
Yeah, I'd say.
But you know, in all honesty, I consider every episode of our show momentous. None of them can you really, rest on your laurels with. We bring the same level of passion and intensity with 59 as with 60, as with 7.
What?
Okay, good. Thank you for that.
Haha.
Thank you very much. Next show at 7, everybody. So, Brian, what's happening, man?
Oh, man. This is the week of Thanksgiving, right?
It is. What are you thankful for, Brian?
I am thankful that I get to talk to my good pal Zaki several times a month.
Aw.
And
you're adorable. You're adorbs.
I actually mean it. But I am thankful for that.
Me too.
And I'm looking forward to having the time off and stuff. But it's funny because there was like a little period while we were doing the show, maybe the past month or so, where I was just really, really busy with work, and it was really hard to see things. But I feel like recently I've been seeing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we kind of like I tagged out because my movie watching has slowed to nary a crawl while you're kind of making up for the two of us. It seems like. Yeah.
No, recently I just went to around Los Angeles. I know they do this everywhere, but out here it's middle of November, and I know it's like 19 degrees in other parts of the country. But anyway, this past weekend they had an outdoor screening of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Nice. In downtown LA, which was fantastic. Like, it was in this abandoned lot, and all these cars. It was kind of a drive-in thing. Like, all these cars came in and stacked up, and they projected the film, and in the background you could see the LA skyline, which was gorgeous. And it was just a lot of fun. I mean, that's one of my favorite movies. I think I say this every year around Thanksgiving, but
you do.
It's not Thanksgiving without Planes, Trains for me. So it was really fun to see that, and it was really cool to. I'm not gloating, but just to be outside in just a hoodie and be able to watch this film outside in the middle of November. And looking up, my girlfriend and I, we actually sat on this AstroTurf thing in front of all the cars, so we were closest to the screen, and you could see like airplanes flying overhead. As the film was playing, and it was a really cool experience. So I enjoy doing those things. Do you guys have that up there in the Bay Area? Do they do these sort of pop-up drive-ins, kind of outdoor screening things? Yeah.
There is a drive-in. I think there are 2 drive-ins. I've never been, but I would like to at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're fun.
I mean, honestly, like we're at the stage in terms of where our family is at, where I'm terrified to do anything that involves taking them out.
Touche.
And engaging with the world, because I'm horrified that they'll and it's funny because I mean I think overall my kids are decent kids,
right?
But then I double back on that and think that I'm just telling myself that to disguise the cognitive dissonance of just how horrible and monstrous they are.
Yeah.
So I go through a lot of introspection, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But one day a drive-in will happen. So.
One day. Well, I also got to see something pretty exciting. Last we had talked, we had just seen Interstellar, and then less than a week later, a friend of mine invited me to go see it again, which I know I would have seen it eventually again at some point, but probably not less than a week later. But the hook was that Christopher Nolan was going to be there for a Q&A afterwards, and I was really excited about this because he seems just sort of this like elusive figure. You know what I mean? He doesn't really talk about his craft very often. He seems to relish in being sort of this mysterious guy. And so anyway, of course, I couldn't turn that down. So it was over at the DGA building, and so they screened the film. And, by the way, I saw it in IMAX, and I talked about how loud it was. And I was wondering if this was just sort of an IMAX issue. And so I saw it again at the wasn't an IMAX screen, regular theater, and it was freaking loud, man. Like, it's just a loud film, and I think obviously since he was there, I'm sure it was set to his specifications and everything, and apparently that's the experience he wants us to have. So
yeah, I read, he was asked to respond to the critiques about the sound mix, and I think in so many words he said to piss off.
he said it in like such a sophisticated British way.
You're like, oh.
Yeah. But no, it's just funny.
But actually, my question before, when he walked out, did it go?
Oh, it so should have.
Right?
I can't believe I didn't think of that. That would have been hysterical. Yeah, well, and the thing is, I didn't even think about who's going to be moderating the Q&A. I figured some guy who worked for, staff of the DGA or something. But it was Edgar Wright.
Oh,
and
no
so,
way!
To my surprise, Edgar Wright comes out and. Then Christopher Nolan, and it was a perfect pairing because Nolan is, he's an interesting guy, but I think he would even admit he's a dry personality. You know what I mean? He's just very serious and straightforward. And Edgar Wright just kept kind of pulling humor out of him and cracking jokes, and even made like Nolan laugh. So it made for an enjoyable discussion. But I thought what was kind of interesting. I just tried to write down a few things I thought was interesting about what he said. Was I think the biggest thing I thought. Most interesting thing was he was talking about shooting practical effects, which obviously he is a huge, a believer in, and he preaches the gospel of, trying not to do green screen and stuff like that, and everybody knows that. But he was saying he actually flew his crew to glaciers to shoot that ice planet, and he was saying, believe it or not, people may not believe me, but it's actually cheaper to build a spaceship, ship it up to like Iceland, rebuild it on a glacier, than it is to actually go ahead with like a CGI process of faking it. Just because, and I believe it too. And and it's just so much more tangible that way. And man, I just wish more filmmakers would do that.
Well, I mean, you know what it is. I mean, you're paying for the convenience.
What do you mean?
Well, by virtue, you shooting on a soundstage and having to create something in CGI, you're paying more.
Oh, sure.
Right? I mean, think about it. Avatar is the most expensive movie ever made, and it's entirely green screen.
Right.
Right. And the trade-off is that for all the money that Cameron spends, he has absolute control over every aspect of the film, whereas Nolan is subject to sort of Mother Nature. Being like, hey, I'm not taking it easy until you explain Inception to me,
Well, he talked about that though, because that water planet that they're on, he said that was another location in Iceland, and apparently it was just a few miles away from where they did the training in Batman Begins with Christian Bale and Liam Neeson. So he was aware of it, and he said what was unique about it was shallow water, but it had this black sand underneath, so it looked deeper.
Mm-hmm.
He had remembered that, and he ended up using that. But he said that was where the crew was the most miserable because it was just wet and spray was always going in your face, and just that everybody was very unhappy at that location. But he talked about Tars and the robot wanting to shoot him practically, and he even said to the audience, he's like, I mean, how much better does it look seeing the light reflecting it off of actual metal, and of course everybody clapped.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of my favorites. He was speaking to the faithful, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody there was, eating out of the palm of his hand, and it was fun because for me personally, one of my favorite films is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and they both brought that film up. Edgar and Christopher Nolan is one of their favorite sci-fi films, and there was a really funny moment where they were saying Spielberg has said that he would, if he were to remake that movie now, he would change the ending because the ending is Richard Dreyfuss becomes obsessed with this vision. The vision is actually a UFO that's going to land on Earth, and he ditches his family to go to this UFO, and then he actually gets inside and leaves Earth, leaves his family.
Perfectly rational, perfectly normal.
Right. And Spielberg said, as a young man, it made sense to him, but as a father, he would never do that. So anyway, Edgar Wright and Christopher Nolan were talking about that ending, and Nolan was like, yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, Spielberg just fill that movie with so much wonder and awe that you don't question it. You may question it later, but the movie works because you don't question it while you're watching the film. And he goes, personally, I if I could tell Spielberg, I would tell him not to change a thing about that movie. It's perfect. And then this one lone person just started clapping in the back of the theater, and Edgar, without skipping a beat, goes, "Oh, hi, Steven."
That's hilarious.
So it was good. It was a really good time. And,
It's funny, because I always enjoy reading interviews with Nolan where he does sort of speak off the cuff. Um, because he always says interesting stuff. I remember in one thing, this was maybe a couple of years ago, it was probably after Dark Knight Rises, where he was talking about how in Batman Begins, right there, specifically after the scene you mentioned, the training sequence, and if you remember, Bruce Wayne falls into the ice, remember, and then afterwards they're kind of huddled around the fire, him and Ra's al Ghul, and Ra's al Ghul is like, like rub your chest, your arms will take care of themselves. Remember that?
yeah.
And Christopher Nolan's like, I just made that up. Like, don't actually do that because I don't know if that. Like don't use that as
That's
something that you
hilarious.
actually use to save your life after you get a frostbite or whatever.
Well, that's an interesting thing though, because I didn't know if they were going to be opening it up to questions from the audience, and if they were, I of course wanted to have something ready. And my question was going to be, I wanted him to talk about what it's like to be a filmmaker who, more than any other filmmaker, seems to like have all this. Not scrutiny, but like, people like demand the details be correct from him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he really, his fans are passionate about him, but they're also sort of to an extreme level. They hold him to this like crazy standard. And like you said, he made that fact up, but like some people would be like, well, that must be true if he put it in the film.
If Christopher, nobody expects a Michael Bay to have the laws of physics make sense in any of the Transformers movies.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's Michael Bay.
Right. Right. And even like with Interstellar, where, without spoiling it, but the end gets like kind of crazy and about things we don't particularly know facts about space, but at the same time, then the same week you get Neil deGrasse Tyson coming out and be like, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like, wow, all right. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if you remember this, but a few weeks ago there was an interview. I think it was in The Guardian, and it was talking about Interstellar, and it was talking about sort of the advice that he gave Zack Snyder when they were making Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And per the piece in The Guardian, which is paraphrasing what Zack Snyder supposedly said to them, the question came up of, oh, should we include like a post-credits tag in Man of Steel, the same way the Marvel Studios movies do? And again, per this article, the quote attributed to Nolan was, well, a real movie wouldn't do that. Right. And I don't know if you remember, but like the internet kind of went apeshit for about a day and a half.
Yeah.
Where you had like half the people being like, F you, Nolan, you friggin' asshole, and why are you so full of yourself? And then half the internet was like, have we been wrong to like the post-credit tag?
Right.
This is weird
Nolan
thing.
had spoken. Yeah.
Like, but I disagree, and now I don't, And then he later came out and said, look, that's not what I said. I would never impugn somebody else's, like, I would never call somebody else's movie not a real film,
Right.
Which that sounded more like something Nolan would say.
Right.
The denial, But it's very interesting how for like a minute and a half there was this sort of tempest in a teapot.
Yeah.
Thanks to social media. So interesting stuff. Oh, and actually, while we talk about Interstellar, they came out with this kind of a prequel comic.
Yes.
Through Wired, and I was wondering if you had a chance to read that. Now, this comic, it's about Dr. Mann, who's played in the film by.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. Is that a
spoiler?
Yeah.
Well, it's about a character in the film. We'll say that.
There you go. Played by an actor of some note, and so sort of his journey before he winds up where we meet him in the movie, and I don't know. This was like an exclusive comic that Nolan wrote, and it was put online via Wired, and I read it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I had the exact same response, and the thing is that issue of Wired was guest edited by Nolan.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure they were like, okay, do this, and like, it'd be really great is if you wrote like a little prequel to Interstellar, and he was probably like, oh, shut up. Okay. That's what it rubbed me as, because I was sort of looking forward to it. Was like, I clicked on it, I expected it to be like 3 pages. It was like 7, so I was like, oh, it's like a thing, like there's gonna be like a little thing here, and I could tell you in one sentence what happens over those 7 pages.
And we won't, because it is kind of spoilery, but
yeah. But it's like this happens, so then this. Like, that's
Yeah.
basically it. But whatever. All in good fun.
Well, yeah, but you know what though, and this is only somewhat related to Interstellar because at least in terms of the plot is I've been listening to the audiobook of The Martian.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we have mentioned before, and you had talked about it, and I was, I had it in the back of my mind. And then earlier this week, Zainab Chaudhry, who actually listens to our show, she asked me, "Oh, have you listened to it? Have you read the book? It's great." And I was like, "Yeah, I need to." And then Brian Hall very graciously gifted me a copy of the audiobook, and I've been breathlessly listening to that for the past week, and this is a book by Andy Weir, and I don't know how I'd describe it. I mean the log line is kind of like Castaway meets Apollo 13, basically, right?
Sure.
And I think that's apt. I would say that's pretty fair. And this is going to be a movie now with Matt Damon, and it's directed by Ridley Scott. I think Jessica Chastain is in it, and they've got Chiwetel Ejiofor. They got a pretty good cast. And I'm kind of glad that I looked up the cast list before I started listening because it gives me a sense of who's playing who, and who I can picture.
Uh-huh.
But man, you've listened to the whole thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Man, it draws you in.
Oh, so good. I highly recommend it. I think anyone who, especially the audiobook, honestly, I feel like hearing, because it's a first person sort of thing for a lot of it, like he's got a lot of personality, and it's a really fun listen.
It's very, very funny. The book is structured at least partially, and plot-wise, it's about an astronaut who is on an expedition to Mars along with his crew, and a freak accident leaves him stranded on Mars, presumed dead, and so he's trying to survive long enough for the next supply ship to come and rescue him. So it's very much rooted in sort of real science or the appearance of real science, and that makes it different from. This is not John Carter or something where like Martians show up or whatever. It's a if not a real world, a realistic take on what this would entail. And then we also cut back to what the efforts on Earth to rescue him, etc. But his log entries are very, very funny. There's moments where I've laughed out loud where he'll be like, "Oh, I'm in the rover now, and I've got Commander Lewis's USB here. I'm going to see what kind of music she left behind, and that's what I'm going to find out right now. End of entry." And then it's like next entry, disco. God damn it, Lewis.
Yeah. There were several times like his log entries like made me laugh out loud.
There's one where he's communicating back and forth, and he's given a message from Earth that the probe that's coming to rescue you, it's called like Iris, and it's named after the goddess of rainbows or whatever. And then his response is just gay probe coming to get me. Got it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's just like a laugh fest, because there's like genuine drama because and I've never had this happen where I'm listening to an audiobook. There's a bit where it's setting up like various things that are going to be happening that increase the stakes, and as I'm listening in my car, I'm like, oh no. I'm like literally doing that out loud.
Yeah.
So that tells you something. So I've really been enjoying that. So thank you, Brian, for hooking that up for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a great movie, but I would highly recommend checking out the book beforehand. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of it's going to have to be condensed, and all of it's interesting.
I know, that's the thing. It's unfortunate because you listen to it and you know what's probably not going to make it into the movie.
Yeah.
But moving on, we have a listener letter here, and this is from Imran, and he says, "I have been watching a lot of Star Trek: The Next Generation. My question is this: do you think TNG will get a reboot the way Star Trek did with Chris Pine?" And that's a good question. I've thought about this a lot. I mean, not a lot, but I haven't spent every waking moment thinking about it. It's not. It doesn't haunt my dreams, but that is something, because it's something that people bring up. Like, well, if you've done this, obviously you have to do that, and it seems to me that it's inevitable.
So you like recast Picard and all those guys, like do that?
all those guys. I mean, you got to redo it. Well, and I mean, I've got it all figured out because in the movie Star Trek Nemesis, which came out in 2002, that was the last time the Next Generation crew was in a movie. The villain was this character called Shinzon, who is a clone of Captain Picard as a young man. And that clone is played by Tom Hardy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
funny.
give it about 20 years,
Right.
Tom Hardy, and there's your new captain. Shave his head.
There you go.
There's your new Captain
And
Picard.
it actually has a connection. Well, that would be the connective tissue, like Leonard Nimoy for the
Yeah, exactly.
right, the J.J. Abrams.
There you go. Or we actually have two young Patrick Stewarts. We've got Tom Hardy and James McAvoy.
Oh, that's right. That would be, yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Or have them both as Picard. I don't know how that would work. They just switch off from scene to scene. See if we notice. But it seems inevitable to me because for an entire generation, the Next Generation characters are at least as iconic as the original crew.
hmm
And at some point, the original, are we now, once Chris Pine and these guys either are not interested or age out, are we going to recast those roles again?
Yeah. Right. Because I can't imagine that they're going to be tied to these characters as long as the originals were.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? So at some point, they're going to be like, all right, we're out. So at that point,
Right.
what do? You either recast or you move on. And if you move on, how do you not do the Next Generation?
Right.
And I don't even say this as somebody who necessarily wants to see it happen. To be honest, I don't care if they do it, fine. But I have to figure a lot of fans would be like, well, how are you going to disrespect the Next Generation by just ignoring them?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really. I don't know a lot about the Star Trek universe, so.
You make me very sad, Brian.
Yeah. So I don't have a fan's opinion on it, unfortunately, but.
Yeah, I think your introduction to the universe has basically been the two reboot movies.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I think like a lot of people that maybe didn't grow up with Star Trek, I think we all saw Star Trek 4 somehow
Right.
growing
Right.
up,
You
the
were
one with the whales.
Way,
And
yeah.
everybody loved it. It's a good movie. And so anyway, yeah, the reboots were coming up, and then you introduced me to the original films,
Yeah.
which I really enjoyed.
So your exposure to Star Trek has mainly been throughout the course of our friendship being like, shut up, Zaki, whenever I bring something up,
Yeah.
basically. So Imran, I don't know if we answered your question, but my opinion, it seems like, I don't know if it's a no-brainer, but it seems like that would be the sensible thing to do once we're done with this current generation.
Yep.
Moving on to headlines. We got a few headlines to discuss. Now, Brian, obviously the entertainment world has been rocked over the past week or so with news that I feel like we should at least somewhat address on our show.
Uh-huh.
And I'm talking, of course, about Bill Cosby turning out to be apparently one of the skeeziest human beings alive.
Allegedly. Yeah.
Allegedly, a huge sleazeball. Allegedly, a terrible person. Go on.
I was just waiting for the next one. Yeah, I mean, this is really one of those, few people, because there's a lot of people like, oh, what a shame, this person. But there are probably, say, like, the top people that you did not expect, to hear such awful things about. And it's really soul-crushing. People that, because, I mean, growing up, in terms of television, figures, I mean, he was a fatherly figure for us growing up on television, and the worst trouble he got into was trying to, sneak a hoagie behind Mrs. Huxtable's back, you know what I mean? Like, and funny enough, just recently, I never really listened to his comedy records growing up, and my girlfriend did, and she had been playing them for me recently, but way before this.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it's everything everyone's been saying. Like, it's just genuinely, clean and funny and, heartfelt, and I was really enjoying it. And then, this thing comes out, and you're like, wow, all of that is just gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's extraordinary to think about forging a legacy over 5 decades.
Oh, 5
And-
days. Yeah.
And have it, and I don't think we've explicated what's going on here.
Sure.
In case you've been living in a hole for the past few weeks, what's happened is that accusations that Bill Cosby has been, a serial rapist have now bubbled up to the surface, even though they've been floating out there in the ether for a very, very long
For a long time. Yeah.
Long time. And this all kind of came up because there's a comedian named Hannibal Buress who was doing a set, a stand-up set, and he was criticizing Bill Cosby for the way in which Bill Cosby is critical of black males. So specifically, pull up your pants and stuff like that. And his whole bit was like, don't tell me to pull up my pants. You stop raping women.
Right.
Right, and people in the audience are shocked, and he's like, "Hey, just Google it, look it up. I'm not making this up, And he made this comment, something to the effect of, "I want it to at least be weird when you watch reruns of the Cosby Show."
He said that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, and to which I say, "Well, mission accomplished, Hannibal."
Dude, yeah, and I gotta say, it's funny because my first thought when I hear all this stuff is like, and that's my perspective. That's how I feel because I'm losing something that I had a connection to growing up. But I gotta say, for all these women, that are coming forward,
women as of last count.
Yeah, I mean, what a relief for them. This awful thing they've been carrying, and to see this sort of figure, revered by so many people, and to what they must have felt. You know what I mean? Like it's awful that it happened at all, but at least they're having their moment where they can sort of, release this from something they've been carrying.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then it won't stop. Like then you see all these other things where like, that guy who worked at NBC, did you read that?
Yeah.
He was basically a fixer for NBC.
Yeah, he would pay off
all the women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I read a weird thing today that when he would go to the Letterman show, did you read this?
I did.
He would request that all the female interns sit in the green room with him and watch him while he ate curry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, of all the weird power trips,
yeah.
Like I don't even understand. Is that like a fetish? Like what,
Yeah, I don't know. Man.
But I mean, it's one of those things where, he had a new sitcom that was coming up on NBC. That's done.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. He had a new stand-up special coming up on Netflix. That's not going to drop.
Mm-hmm.
His on-screen career is effectively over.
Yeah. And I mean, think about it. I was talking about this with my brother, who, by the way, my brother and I saw that he was playing a casino nearby recently. Wow. And we were like, you know what? Screw it, man. Let's drop it. Let's drop the money. Like, this is worth it. Let's go see him.
So you did?
No, we didn't. But this was like, we were talking about this about a month ago, and then this happens. But anyway, it's just interesting that when he passes away, the way that he's going to be remembered, all, like you say, 5 decades of legacy.
Yeah.
And being beloved. But this is now his legacy.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to make for a hell of a biopic.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think of that.
Jeez. Anyway, while we talk about biopics, I wanted to bring this up too. Aaron Sorkin and his Steve Jobs bio.
Mm-hmm.
That now we talked about this way before, if you remember, right? David Fincher was attached, and we use this as a pin as a springboard to talk about how the news sites kind of jumped the gun.
Right.
When it comes to news things, because at one point it was David Fincher directing Christian Bale in an Aaron Sorkin script.
Mm-hmm.
That fell apart at Sony, and then it came back together with Danny Boyle came on, still Sorkin. They wanted Christian Bale. Christian Bale turned down the job, and now they're looking at. Last I read, I think it was Michael Fassbender.
Same. That's what I saw.
Which to me, look, I like Michael Fassbender. I do not see him as Steve Jobs.
No,
I don't.
Christian Bale is kind of perfect, actually.
That would have been good. So Christian Bale turned it down and said he didn't think he was right for it, or for whatever rationale he gave. And Sony has now said, you know what, we're going to take a pass on this.
Yeah.
Right. And so now it's kind of in turnaround, and various other studios are looking at it. Now here's my question. Now look, no bigger Aaron Sorkin fanboy than me. Is anyone interested in this?
I am, honestly. But at the same time, it's not something I'm clamoring for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if it never exists, my life will go on. But at the same time,
You can content yourself with the Ashton Kutcher Steve Jobs film.
yeah, it's already been done, fellas. No, but
How are you going to reinvent the wheel, right?
yeah, no, but at the same time, I mean, I love The Social Network. You know what I mean? Like this whole sort of news from the past couple of years kind of biopic thing, and like the pitter patter dialogue, and I was like, yeah, I'm down for that. I would like to watch something like that again, honestly. But and the Steve Jobs biography was really interesting. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things in that guy's story. So yeah, there's a good movie to be made there, definitely. But I don't know. Maybe the script isn't the same sort of thing, though. I mean, The Social Network, for being a pretty much, there's no action in that movie. It's just dialogue, the whole way. But it didn't feel like it. That movie felt like a thriller, and it's not. You know what I mean? So I think maybe people wanted that again, and maybe this script isn't that.
Wouldn't you just love to see the Aaron Sorkin polish on like a standard like buddy cop movie?
Yeah.
Just that's like an SNL skit waiting to happen at the very least.
Yeah.
But another project that's been getting a little bit of notice is the Wonder Woman movie.
Right.
Now this is a project I've mentioned before. I have little to no interest in, and the latest news that we got today has not moved the needle for me even a little bit. And it is that they have a director now, and it is Michelle McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, why should I care about this news?
Well, she is a very good director. She's directed for Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, so like any show that people have probably raved and ranted about in the past couple of years, she's been a part of that. So that's comforting having her as, at the helm of this.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, and when I say on the other hand, I'm trying to address your lack of interest in this movie. I would say, man, and I hate to sound like the crowd. That's what I don't want to sound like right now. But if this were a Marvel movie, I might be sort of like, what's this about? Okay, like let's do this. But DC, they haven't shown me anything yet to make me think that this will work.
Right.
Except, like as we say, except Man of Steel, which was fine. You know what I mean? So, is this anything for me to get excited about? Not, I'm not. You know what I mean? But like, do I hope it's good? Yeah, of course.
Well, to your point, I read a thing that James Gunn, who directed Guardians of the Galaxy, posted on his Facebook page. And it's where he's sort of taking to task this predilection towards, quote unquote Marvel style shared universes. I don't know. Did you have a chance to read what he said? Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't.
All right, so I'll read this to you. So this is James Gunn. He says, "Listen, I love big ass shared universes in movies as well as huge franchises, but I'm a little worried about the numerous shared universes being planned by the studios without having a strong base film to grow from, or in some cases, no base film to grow from." Star Wars had the original Star Wars. The Marvel Universe had the original Iron Man. The Dark Knight series had Batman Begins. Even movies like Transformers and Twilight. These were movies audiences loved, and the audiences demanded more from these characters. But these days, studios are trying to grow trees without strong seed. Execs and producers, and sometimes even directors, are focused on the big picture without perfecting the task directly in front of them, making a great movie. And studios are trying to grow franchises from non-existent films or middling successes. It's like they aren't taking audiences into account at all anymore. I know George Lucas, Kevin Feige, Jon Favreau, etc. had ideas where their films would potentially lead in the face of success. But I don't think it ever got in the way of making that first movie count as if it was the last, of making it something wonderful that people would love whether it led to other films or not. In short, I think this new business model is flawed. I think filmmakers and studios should be prepared for the big picture, but never ever let it get in the way of making a single great film. Be a little more experimental and see what works as opposed to trying to force success. And mostly, remember what we as an industry exist to serve the audience, to communicate with them. They have a voice in what we create as well. We're not here to dictate what they want to see, mostly because that's simply not possible. What do you think of that?
I think he's right. You know, I mean, it feels like, and we've talked about this before, but that just seems like what everybody's trying to do now. I mean, with the Universal monster movies, you know what I mean?
Oh
They're
my
trying to
gosh.
do a Marvel
Marvel still
style.
shared universe.
Yeah, and like the Dracula film, right? That just came out.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know,
Dracula, whatever. That's actually Dracula, ...
yeah.
whatever.
But I will say about, in regards to Wonder Woman, that's not my criticism of, or not criticism, but my wariness for that movie. My wariness is that within the Marvel universe, even though yes, there is like a tone that sort of carries throughout. I mean, you know, you still had Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like a bouncier kind of movie, you know,
Sure.
and kind of ragtag and fun, and it felt different than the other Marvel movies, even though it did feel connected and of a piece. But the thing is with this whole DC thing, it sounds like it's pretty humorless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it sounds like I imagine the whole movie's going to be color timed to look like washed out, you know, and just sort of, you know what I mean? So it's almost like, well, I don't want to watch 8 films of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, Wonder Woman isn't necessarily a bleak character.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Batman is, sure, but like Superman isn't necessarily, and
Yeah.
Green Lantern, you know, so it just makes me, it bums me out that if that is their base picture, Man of Steel, you know, it just feels like it's just going to be these heavy-handed pictures.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that's something I'm going to get excited about, even though I hope they're good. I don't know.
Well, you know, I read an interview recently with Stephen Amell, who plays Green Arrow, right, on the Arrow TV series. And he mentioned his thoughts on how, and this is something we talked about on our show, about how the DC announces a new Flash movie, like right as this new Flash TV series has just started.
Right.
And you know, he was speaking gingerly about it, but even so, he made pretty clear he thought it was kind of a dick move.
Right.
And I mean,
Right.
here's the quote right here. He says, "I thought the way that Warner Brothers announced the slate of DC movies could have been handled better. And I think someone like Grant Gustin, and Grant Gustin plays the Flash on the TV series, by the way, who has just launched an iconic character like the Flash to record-breaking numbers that far surpassed Arrow's numbers. He should have been given a wider berth than 2 episodes before another actor was announced to play his character."
Right.
I mean, he's right.
Right.
You know, it just from a purely reflexive point of view, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, that's kind of sticky, isn't it? I mean, because it's like you're not gonna. I mean, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has sort of broken that whole, you know, paradigm where you have a television show that is like literally connected to the largest movies of the year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Featuring the same actors, and even though they haven't had like Robert Downey Jr. or anybody, but they have had actors from those films show up on that show.
Sam Jackson.
Right. So, but at the same time, I couldn't imagine, you know, the Flash character like being, you know, you want it to be this tentpole movie, but then you also get to see him every week on television.
Well, but I don't think his point was like, oh, it should have been the same actor, right?
No. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with what he said, in terms of respect or anything. But I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking out loud. Like
It just seems goofy to me. Right? Like I'll give you an example, right? Like right now you have Gotham on TV, right? And that's the closest we're going to get to Batman on TV. And obviously, we can get into, you know, again, what we think of the show. But my point is, like, there's this recognition on Warner Brothers' part that, like, you know, we need to keep Batman separate or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't have TV Batman and movie Batman. So to me, it's like, well, why do that with the Flash?
Right. Sure.
You know, even like when you think, excuse me, back in 2006, Superman Returns came out at the same time Smallville was on the air, right? Mm-hmm. But there was a distinction because the Superman that we were getting in the movie was very different from the Superman we were getting on TV.
Right. Sure.
You know, and of course it ended up like Superman Returns was just came and went and forgotten. But like even you know, Man of Steel, you know, was giving a take on Superman's origin after Smallville was finished and it was done with. So it had been given this birth, you know?
Right.
So seems odd. My contention all along is that I don't think Warner Brothers knows what the hell they're doing.
And they're just trying to catch up really quickly.
They're desperate to catch up. And I think it was Paul Shirey who said on our show that, well, their situation is that if they're not, you know, if they're not in the game, they're losing. Mm-hmm. My thought is that they might lose even while being in the game, you know?
Sure.
So
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, yeah, Batman vs Superman. I'm still looking forward to it.
well, I do think what's kind of interesting is we do have kind of like origin fever right now.
Sure.
You know, you talked about Dracula. What is it? Is it Dracula Unloved? That's like Dracula Untold, I think it's called, right?
Yeah.
That's like the Batman Begins.
That's sad. I can't be bothered. I have IMDb literally open in front of me.
You're like, I don't want to type.
Dracula Untold. Good
It
job.
is Untold. Okay, and that stars Luke Evans and whatever.
Dominic.
But and that's been like retroactively turned into the first part of this stupid Universal Monster series. And by the way, actually, brief tangent here. I'm a huge fan of the classic Universal monsters, and I love the fact that they all exist in this shared universe. I think that's awesome. But the comments that the head of Universal has given, where they're like, "Yeah, we're going to turn them into action movies,"
right.
and it's like, well, why not? I'm just going to throw this out there. Why not make horror movies about the monsters? Just gonna suggest that, right?
Yeah. Wait a minute. It just occurred to me. What if this is all building to their Avengers, which is a remake of Monster Squad?
Good Lord, God help us all.
I am suddenly turned on to this idea.
I don't want them to remake Monster Squad. I want Monster Squad to be rooted in its time, frozen in amber.
All right, fine.
But anyway, so we do have origin fever, and I think there's no better exemplar of that than Pan.
Yes.
So Pan is kind of the Batman Begins of Pan.
Yeah.
Of Peter Pan.
Yeah.
And it stars Hugh Jackman as Blackbeard.
Uh-huh.
And
Captain Hook, mind you.
Well, Dustin Hoffman is Captain Hook.
Do you want to know why it's not Captain Hook?
Why is it not Captain Hook?
So this is coming from Slash Film. I'm reading it now. Captain Hook actually does appear in this story. Well, he's not a captain. He doesn't wear a hook.
Oh, for God's sake.
Instead, he's a dashing Indiana Jones type played by Garrett Hedlund. He's a member of Blackbeard's crew and is actually pals with Peter, though we all know that friendship is not destined to last.
For God's sake.
When I read that, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, wow. Like, this is just like, there's a template. You know what I mean? And then it's just like, that's Peter Pan. Everybody wants to know where Peter Pan came from, right? You know, I'm like, Captain Hook wasn't a bad guy. You're looking at it all wrong. You know, like,
does anyone care about the Peter Pan origin story?
I'll tell you, the only one I care about is the Allison Williams, Christopher Walken NBC Live special coming up. And other than that, there is no other Peter Pan to me.
Peter Pan! You cut off my hand! there's my terrible Christopher Walken.
Hey, I'll take it.
I apologize. Colonel Angus!
Wow. Yeah, anyway.
We should do a whole show, just you and I as people. Just share it off. We'll see. We'll get negative downloads.
You know what? I had an idea. I'm gonna throw us off for 1 second because we will never do this, so I want to just put it out there so it exists. But I thought it would be really funny if we did an episode for like April Fool's Day, completely unannounced, where we just pretended like it was 1983 and we didn't offer any explanation. And our movie news is movie news from 1983. The movie reviews from 1983.
Well, you just gave away the game. That's really funny.
I was like, that's a lot of work. I doubt we'll ever do that. But
that's like when a TV series gets into like the 7th or 8th season and they have to come up with gimmicks.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of like The Simpsons. Like this year, they've had like the Family Guy crossover and the Futurama crossover.
Right.
And I'm like, they must be getting close to being canceled, is what I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But regardless, so this movie stars Hugh Jackman, and I think my question is the same as your question. Why does Hugh Jackman not make good movies in between X-Men?
Right. I mean, not to be a hater, that's exactly the opposite of what I'm saying. I love Hugh Jackman. Like, right?
Yeah.
We love Hugh Jackman.
How can you not love Hugh Jackman? Like, it's almost the truth is that he's daring us not to love him with some of these choices.
Yeah, it's just so fascinating to me. I mean, really, he just cannot make a good movie between an X-Men movie. And I mean, Prestige. I like Prestige.
The Prestige is one. There you go.
Yeah, And then what was the other one? There's Real Steel.
Okay, Real Steel.
I like Real
That's
Steel.
2. All right, that's 2.
But at the same time, like this guy should be in like all our favorite movies. You know what I mean? Like I don't know anyone who does not like Hugh Jackman.
It's
So
true.
it's just if you know, I'm just saying his agent needs to step it up.
Well, here's the thing, right? I agree, and Van Helsing is, one of the worst things I've ever seen. Worst things not worst movies, worst things. And that was actually Universal's previous attempt at trying to bring back the classic monsters, and that proved that was unfortunate. But to his credit, I think he realizes that Wolverine is who butters his bread.
Sure.
And so there is like the sense of, at the very least, he keeps doing these X-Men flicks.
Oh, for sure. You know what? Yeah, he doesn't have to.
And he's going to be in the next one too, is my
This point.
understanding.
Yeah.
He's going to be in X-Men. By the way, they just announced today that Apocalypse, the villain in the X-Men Apocalypse, is going to be that guy.
Llewyn Davis.
Yeah, what's his name?
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac. Thank you.
Who was in Star Wars 7? Yeah.
Yes, Oscar Isaac, who I will know forever as the guy who I was asked to interview, and I was like, no, I don't think so. That's my claim to fame. Every time I hear a big movie that Oscar Isaac is in, I'm like, hey, Zaki, you jackass. Right? Now, okay, so Hugh Jackman is beloved as Wolverine, and to his credit, he keeps going back to that well. Let's talk about actors going back to wells that I don't think anybody really wants them to anymore. There's a new interview with Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
Where he talks about Expendables 4. Which I find hysterically funny because he thinks anybody wants to see Expendables 4.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of them since 1. I saw 1.
Okay.
Because the premise was like, shut your face. Like, all these guys going to be together in one movie.
Yeah.
And, I can only imagine it.
The original title of the Expendables was Testosterone, the movie.
Yeah. It should have been, Yeah, We Did, or something like that, But it just they just never lived up to the movie I guess I had in my head.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where 3 ended up, how it performed. I mean, I know it wasn't going to change the face of cinema, but at the same time, I mean, did it even make its budget back? I'm not sure, but
it made its budget back because it cost about $100 million and it made $200 million worldwide. But domestically, it made about $7.
yeah.
I mean, it was a huge flop domestically. I think it made like $40 million.
All right, I have a question for you, Zaki.
Yes, sir.
This movie has Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these guys, that I like. But why, in spite of all that, why didn't I want to see it?
2 words: Kelsey Grammer. No, I mean, he is in that movie too, but it's weird how that's kind of where we are now, where you can throw Harrison Ford and Mel Gibson and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. Let's just stop there.
How can I not want to see that movie?
Yeah, and yet here we are. This is the world we live in.
I don't even know if I can articulate it. But I just have no interest in it. Like the plot, I don't know if it's the look of the film. I don't know if it's. That should be the coolest movie ever. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But apparently, it's happening for a 4th time. So.
This all came up in the context of the third one was they reduced the rating from an R to a PG-13 in order to appeal to a younger audience. And this, Stallone has now acknowledged this was a miscalculation.
Yeah.
But we all said this at the time. What young audience, what mythical young audience
Right.
are you reaching for here that you think wants to see you guys?
I know.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
But a 4th Expendables is happening, and apparently he's very interested in mixing up the genre. So he's thinking about making it like a sci-fi movie or a
Seriously?
That's what he said, or interpretive dance in kabuki theater. I mean, Stallone says weird things. I don't know if you ever read his interviews. He's a very intelligent guy. I'm a fan of Sylvester Stallone. I admit that. But he gives interviews where he just says a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, he's very what's the word? I don't want to say hyperbolic, but like he has very like visual speak. Like he uses a lot of metaphors that are very like Yeah, that makes sense, but what are you talking about? Like,
Well, I mean,
does that make sense?
here's
If
the
reading
quote.
his interviews.
Here's the quote, right? 'Cause the question is, this is on Crave Online. Patrick Hughes, who's the director of the previous film, told us he thinks in the next sequel, the Expendables. Blah, blah, blah. Let me try that again. The Expendables should travel through time to World War II. Would you ever let the Expendables get that crazy? And then his answer is, I've actually entertained the idea of putting a group into such an unnatural environment that it, in and of itself, creates extra suspense and tension. The fish out of water scenario. That environment might not be time travel, but nearly just as jarring. The hell are you talking about, Sylvester Stallone? You're talking about Expendables movies, you weirdo.
Hey, man, I don't know. Put them in space. Stallone, you had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
They put Jason in space, so
Right?
have the Expendables in space fighting Jason. There you go.
All right. Throw in a T-Rex.
Well, speaking of T-Rex, thank you, Brian. You're getting good at this.
Yeah.
So we have some big teaser trailers coming up, and I feel like we're now in a weird age. We're in a through the looking glass age, where now we get teasers for the teasers.
That is just weird.
So I mean, specifically, I'm talking about the Jurassic Park trailer, which will be coming out. We're recording now on Monday night, just before Thanksgiving, and the Jurassic World teaser will be. I think it's on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
So they
During
released
football, I think.
during football, exactly. So they've released a 15-second teaser for the trailer.
Well, yes, and there was a teaser before the teaser, wasn't there, where it just showed the glass and the vibrations in the water.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, is that from the first film or is this from the current film?
I believe it's from the first film.
Okay.
Yeah. But my reaction to both of those is F all of you people.
What? Just show us the trailer?
What is this? You know what I mean?
You know what? Yes, you are right. But it's easier to do that now with the internet, where everyone clicks on something every single day. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. I've never thought about this before until this very moment. But yeah, it kind of makes sense.
To do a 15-second teaser?
People just want to click on something, so you have to have something there to click. So get people excited for your trailer. Give them 10 seconds before you give them the 2.5 minutes.
You know,
I think it's dumb. Don't get me wrong, but I get it.
I can't even. This is how angry I am. I can't even articulate. And part of this is because I just want to see like contiguous footage that encompasses dialogue and movement from shot to shot in Jurassic World. That's the low bar I'm setting.
Right.
Show me dialogue and movement.
Fair enough.
As opposed to 3 unconnected shots that look cool as hell, no doubt. But I'm now very angry, is the point I'm making. And I don't like being angry when it comes to Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But it seems like the Jurassic World trailer, or the trailer for the trailer, or the teaser for the trailer of the trailer, is nothing compared to what's going on with the Star Wars Episode 7 trailer, which is 88 seconds long, and it's going to premiere exclusively in 9 theaters this coming Friday.
So this comes on the heels of people saying, like, when is this trailer going to come out? It's going to come out in front of The Hobbit. And then Disney or someone, representative from the Star Wars camp, said, oh, no, we've got something much bigger planned than that. So it's like, oh, is it going to be on, like, all the major networks at the same time? Or something like that? Something kind of like that everyone will get to see? It's like, no, it's going to be in about 30 theaters across the country.
Yep.
Like, I saw on some comment section, someone was like, well, I guess Arkansas gets screwed again or something, because it's like not even going to play in Arkansas. I was like, that's not big.
Right.
Like, that's kind of sucks. And then the thing is when's it going to go online? When are we going to see the HD version? Like, are we just going to get these crappy? Is it most people's introduction to this trailer going to be crappy iPhone camera? You know what I mean? Like, yes. Someone from that theater. So that's, I don't know. Like, I get it. I get trying to, turn it into an event, but I don't feel like that can work the way they're doing it.
So what's the rationale behind it?
Buzz, getting people to the theater. Because I mean, that's kind of a famous thing that happened with Phantom Menace, where people were buying tickets to films that they weren't even planning on watching just to see a new Star Wars trailer because there was such anticipation for it. And it's remembered for that.
Yeah.
And I think they're probably trying to do something like that again. And Disney has a movie out right now that I'm sure they want everyone to go see. But I just don't feel like I would maybe drop $7 for a movie I don't care about to see this trailer back then when I didn't have YouTube. But now, A, I do have YouTube. B, tickets cost $15. So I'm not going to drop $15. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go see something I don't care about just to see this trailer when I can see it tomorrow or later this evening. I just feel like my guess is they were going for something like that, but I think it's a different time. That's my guess. And I don't mean to be critical of it because I'm super looking forward to seeing this trailer. I was just surprised that this was the plan.
Yeah. I mean, I think it seems goofy to me. That's me.
Do you agree with me? Like it seems to me, it seems like an interesting idea from a different time.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because my understanding is that it's going to play before like every movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah.
It doesn't matter what. So there isn't a lot of financial incentive for Disney, in getting people to pay to see all kinds of random movies.
But at these specific theaters, right? Not every theater across the country.
That's correct.
That would be like amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd pull that off necessarily, but that to me that seems like no, we've got something bigger.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
So I don't know. But hey, I'm super amped to see it. So and knowing we're going to see it in less than a week, that's exciting.
Well, I mean, is there any other Star Wars news going on?
No, not a one.
Okay then.
No, I'm just kidding. No, on a personal note, I wanted to bring up that every now and then you hear about these sort of screenings where they do fan edits of Star Wars, and like Topher Grace kind of famously did one, and it's like obviously he doesn't have permission to do this, can't charge for it, and he can't even really announce it or it'll get shut down. So these things will kind of happen, it'll get screened, and then people will write about it the next day. And a friend of mine invited me to one such screening, and it was a fan edit called The Mentor. And it was actually at a major, and this is like funny too, where I don't even realize how big of a secret it is anymore because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. So I feel like reluctant to say what theater it was. But anyway, it was at this theater, a really nice old school theater in Hollywood, and they rented it out for the morning, and they showed this fan edit called The Mentor, and the premise was as if Star Wars didn't exist. There's no opening crawl. This wasn't about Luke Skywalker. This was Obi-Wan Kenobi's story. And so what he did was he started with Luke getting R2-D2 and C-3PO, and then they're like, oh, yeah, we belong to Ben Kenobi. And so then he goes to Ben, and Ben's like, oh, Anakin, Obi-Wan, I haven't thought of that in a long time. And then it goes into Attack of the Clones, where you've got Anakin and Obi-Wan talking about they're like, oh, you bailed me out that time. No, I didn't. Like, they're pals, and da-da-da-da. But then it came back to like, okay, we have to get these plans, to take down this thing, back to A New Hope. But then as they're on the Millennium Falcon, Obi-Wan starts reminiscing again, and then it cuts back to another flashback from the prequels. And so basically it's about Anakin and Obi-Wan. And when you take the prequels, the way this film did, and just strip away all the stuff, whittle it down to the bare minimum, where it's like it's these two pals, and one guy, is trying to train his friend, and his friend just wasn't ready, and his friend was unfortunately seduced by, a powerful, corrupt person, and then turns on everyone. And they showed that, him turning and killing all the Jedi. And so it all comes to a head with the moment in A New Hope where Obi-Wan and Darth Vader face off. So now you have all this context for this meeting. And I was kind of wondering because, obviously with the special effects and all those things from the prequels, there's a lot of energy, and they feel, and in A New Hope, that fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader is, pretty low energy, honestly. Yeah. And I was kind of wondering how he would keep that going. And he really wisely and well done, he added music to it, from John Williams. But then as Obi-Wan, and there's no sound, and as Obi-Wan and Vader would fight, their lightsabers would clash, and then it would flash to a moment from when they were younger in the prequels, and they were laughing together.
Oh,
and then it was like it'd come back to New Hope, and then they'd clash again, and then it would show them like yelling at each other, but again with no sound, just music, and it was really powerful. It really worked, and I mean, he was limited by only the footage that exists, so obviously there was some finessing that could have happened had he had those actors and the blanks. But I have to say, for my first Star Wars fan edit experience, I thought it was a really interesting reinterpretation of the material. So it was a lot of fun.
So is there a way for people to see this?
Yes. This movie is just one of those things where you're just going to have to Google it, basically, and it will be made available out there for free. It's called The Mentor. I would put The Mentor Star Wars fan edit. I don't know that it'll be up like in the next couple days or so, but I bet over the next couple of weeks it'll start appearing. So it's just fun. It was a really interesting experiment, and I thought the guy did a really good job. So
interesting.
Yeah.
And what else? What else is going on in Star Wars land?
Well, in big, production, let's make a new Star Wars movie news. I guess we have the rumor. At first I thought this was actually accurate, but I guess this is a rumor. We have possibly what the plot is of the first spin-off. Oh,
yeah, I saw this, yeah.
Right. So the one by Gareth Edwards, of Godzilla, Monsters, and then Gary Whitta, who's writing it. Did you read this?
Yeah, it's a heist movie.
Yeah, which I was like, go on.
Yeah, right.
So it's, okay, a heist movie in the Star Wars universe, but let's not stop there. Let's make it the greatest heist that we are aware of in the Star Wars mythos, right? So this is basically how the plans for the Death Star got taken and put into the R2 unit, kicking off basically the entire original Star Wars trilogy. And apparently it's not going to even feature characters that we know. Like they're going to be like bounty hunters. In my head, I mean, I guess most people probably thought this, but I was like, this sounds like Guardians of the Galaxy in Star Wars. Kind of like ragtag, meet some new people. Yeah. Hopefully we really like them. And yeah, I mean, I was of multiple thoughts of this. What do you think of this, Zaki? Because my thought is this is an important part of the story that we already know. But now we're going to put faces and names and events to this. And sometimes when you shade all this stuff in, it just, you don't want it to sour.
You know what I would love to see? I would love for this to be a story of the crew in Star Wars Rebels.
Okay. And because you feel attached to them?
Yeah, and it seems it seems like something that would fall within the wheelhouse of that crew.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. That seems like what they're doing is like a bunch of heists against the Empire, yeah.
Yeah, so I like the idea of setting up these characters on that show, and then we follow them into a movie that's tied in directly with the broader Star Wars canon. Like, that's kind of cool to me,
That could be. I guess we don't know yet.
I mean, it's if you're doing a heist type of movie, you're gonna have this ragtag group, and I mean, there's certain archetypes you're gonna have to satisfy. So I'm kind of like, well, if you've already got those in the Star Wars universe per this show, why not use them?
Right.
That's my thought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds. That's the thing too. Is like I do have those sort of fears where I don't want to like midichlorian it up, But at the same time. It's got to happen. You know what I mean? These movies are coming out once a year. I still can't wrap my head around that, by the way. There's going to be a Star Wars film every year.
That's crazy.
I mean, for at least the next 10 years.
Yep.
So if they're going to do that, then that sounds like a cool story. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about new releases. I guess would you say we're in spoiler wall territory?
Not yet.
All right. Well, so this week Brian has watched a lot of movies, and I will listen to Brian movies that he saw.
I still try to make this conversational here. I don't think anyone wants to hear me drone on and on, but I'll start off with Dumb and Dumber 2 because I don't really feel like there's much to spoil here. Because then eventually we'll move on to Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, and I'll talk about that for a little bit, and then we'll go to I don't know. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen any of the Hunger Games.
Oh,
So
you haven't seen any of them. Oh, okay.
yeah. So I can't say I have. I mean, I know the broad strokes of it, but I don't have a lot invested.
Yeah. Well, let's start with Dumb and Dumber 2 here. Did you have any interest in this movie, by the way, Dumb and Dumber? I mean, are you a fan of the first one? What do you think of there being a sequel?
I am a fan of the first one. I don't see the need for a sequel, and from what I saw, at least vis-a-vis the trailer, it felt more sad to me than laudable.
Yeah. I'll say this. I didn't have a huge interest in seeing it, honestly. I would have seen it eventually on cable or DVD or something at some point, but there's a group of people going. I was like, all right, let's do this. And I tried to go in with like the best attitude possible. Like, I know you can't go home, especially with comedies. You can't do it again. Like, I just hope that at least it's funny. At least it's entertaining for 90 minutes. And you know what? What I'll say about it is it had its moments. And how could you not? You got Jim Carrey, who, he's been sort of all over the map in recent years, but he's a funny dude. So I mean, you're inevitably going to have like some really genuinely funny moments, but at the same time, like, I just felt like what made the first one work so well. And by the way, here's how I remember this. They did this really kind of bad idea where when the movie's over during the credits, they showed footage from the first movie.
Okay.
And I was like, no, you're just reminding me how much better that movie is.
Oh.
It seemed like a really bad idea. Yeah, like the first movie, I think what's really fun about it, and what I had heard was Jim Carrey caught the movie on cable in his hotel room one night and watched the whole thing and was like, man, that was fun. And those characters just really love each other.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to make something like that again with Jeff Daniels and these characters that love each other. And so that's why he called up the Farrelly brothers and said, let's do this. Let's make another one.
I think he looked at his bank account and said, let's do another one.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost say more relevancy, really. I mean, I'm sure his
That
bank
too.
account's fine.
Yeah,
But what it is about the first one that's so funny, aside from it just being funny, is like their chemistry is great, but it's also, no matter how dumb they are or how even slightly mean-spirited some of the stuff can be,
or
they're
dumber
super.
they are.
They're super earnest.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, there really is an innocence, even when they're being gross. There's an innocence to their grossness.
Are they
And-
earnest like Ernest?
Yeah, Ernest P. Worrell.
Yeah. Hey, Vern.
Hey, Vern. Talk about bring it. Oh, we can't do that, Jim Varney. Oh,
I know, man.
Anyway, but I loved Ernest. I loved Ernest movies growing up.
Yeah, the late
That's
great
another
Jim
episode.
Varney.
That'll be our April Fool's Day episode. We'll talk about Ernest movies.
There you go.
But no, all I was gonna say was Dumb and Dumber 2. Unfortunately, I feel like lacked the earnestness, and there was a little bit more of a mean spirit to it in some ways,
Yeah.
and a little bit more of a grossness to it that didn't have an innocence to it. It was just gross,
I'm shocked to find that there's grossness in a Farrelly Brothers movie.
But again, yes, that's in all their movies, but in the first Dumb and Dumber, like I say, there was just a different lightheartedness and genuineness and something I think that made everyone love that movie. And I feel like that's what was missing from this one. Even like the mission, like in the first film when Jim Carrey is, trying to go get Lauren Holly's character,
Sure.
Mary Samsonite, and it's all about like, I got this briefcase. We had a moment. I really feel like we're outcasts, but if we could just meet someone nice and have like we can make a life for ourselves. Like, there's a real innocence to that, and it's real genuine. But in this one, it's like they find out that Harry's, Jeff Daniels' character, has a daughter, and Jim Carrey is just lusting after her the whole time. He just wants to
Right.
have sex with Jeff Daniels' character's daughter, and it's like,
Right.
ew. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and it's not even like he's like 30 or something. Like he's Jim Carrey. He's like 50 something and acting like a crazy person and wants to have sex with this like 20-year-old. Like, there's just something about it that just didn't fly
Yeah.
like the first one. So anyway, I could go on and on, but my point being, catch it on TBS if you're interested. But unfortunately, it's just, I'd say just watch the first one again.
Yeah. Some memories aren't meant to be revisited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is too bad. But there's a funny cameo by Bill Murray in there, by the way. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that. Well, and I heard that a cameo by Jennifer Lawrence was cut.
Yeah, I heard that too. I don't know much about that other than that. But
Well, she had campaigned for some kind of a cameo in Dumb and Dumber too because she's a huge fan of Dumb and Dumber, and so they gave her one. But her appearance was contingent on approval of the cameo,
mm.
and so at some point she decided she didn't either want to be associated with it or her people did or whatever. So that ended up being cut out.
Well, I have to say there is a cameo by Honey Boo Boo and her mother in this movie.
Well, so they clearly it's a lateral move then.
Yeah, I think our theater like collectively groaned when that happened. It was just like, I mean the Farrellys, man, like it's so disappointing, right? I mean, they were on fire.
Yeah.
For a while there, and
well, they had really. I mean, when you think about it, the Farrellys have had 2 successful films.
2? Yeah, I know, you're right. I mean, yes.
Dumb and Dumber and Mary.
Right. And then they had, I like Me, Myself, and Irene.
Yeah, but it didn't do that well.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say that was probably the last Jim Carrey movie that felt like a Jim Carrey movie.
You're probably right. Yeah. Because Me, Myself, and Irene, because after that was Bruce Almighty.
Oh, that's a fun movie. I mean, it's kind of...
Bruce Almighty's kind of watered down, it feels like to me.
It is watered down, but it's okay.
I liked the Farrelly Brothers Three Stooges movie.
You know what? I never saw that, so...
I liked that for what it was. I mean, it ain't Shakespeare, but I liked it for what it was. But talking of Jennifer Lawrence, tell me about Katniss 3: The Revenge. That's the title of the new Hunger Games movie, right?
Yeah. It's Mockingjay Part 1, Addendum 3, Postscript. No, so as we know, I have read the first book, which I really liked, The Hunger Games, and then I saw the film. First movie I thought was okay. I felt like I wasn't crazy about the direction in that movie, and I don't know, something about it just didn't capture what I liked about.
Well, you're not a young adult teenage girl,
but I like the book,
right?
And I feel like there was a lot more going on in there, and a lot more whatever. They just weren't able to mine the emotion that the book had, and it just sort of felt kind of like what people would complain about the Harry Potter books, where it's just sort of like you have to attach your own feelings and thoughts, being fans of the material, to the films, because the films just kind of go through the motion. Anyway, but then with the second film, Catching Fire, I actually really liked. And I remember that came out same time as Thor 2, and I liked it more than Thor 2, to my surprise. So here we are now at Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. I guess we have to wait another year to see Part 2, and this is 2 films coming from 1 book. And that's exactly how this movie feels. Is this easily could have been like 40 minutes. You know, this movie, which is, I'm looking it up right now, 123 minutes, but yeah, like there was a point, and I was talking to my brother about this, and he said there was a point about halfway through where he was like, is anything going to happen in this movie? And it really is. It's just sort of like life in, in underground refuge. And it's like we eat breakfast, and then we go back to our bunks.
So essentially, this is going to be a 4-hour movie when all is said and done.
Yes, and it definitely does not need to be. I mean, I can imagine this could have been like a decent 2.5-hour movie.
So thank you, Harry Potter, for
screwing up taking the last book in a series and then splitting it into 2 when it was unnecessary. But I will say this because I'm complaining. It's a fine movie. It really is. Like it's well made. The acting's fine. The set pieces that happen are fine. The only problem is it's just there's not this arc to it. You know what I mean? Even if you're going to separate it, and that they go together, it is a film. It's a 2-hour movie that everyone's paying to see, for 2 hours. And even if you need to invent one, you have to build an up, a down, and a resolve kind of a thing. And I feel like they could have worked a little bit harder for that.
Sure.
So, but like I said, all that said, I don't think people who are fans of the series are going to be disappointed. I wasn't disappointed. I just wish that they had worked a little harder to make it its own standalone.
Right.
Film, support itself better. But we'll see. We'll talk in a year, and I'll be there for Part 2, and maybe it'll make Part 1 make a lot more sense. And
maybe by then I will have seen a Hunger Games movie.
But
Or more.
not likely, right?
Probably not. We'll see. Hope springs eternal.
I'll throw this out there because, again, I mean, we're going kind of brief because I'm the only one who's seen them and stuff like that. But for people who are listening, I would love to hear what people thought. So write us in and tell us what you thought. If you're a fan, I'm curious for people who are fans of the books what they thought of the film, because I would imagine that fans of the book would really like it, because I bet it touches on a lot of the things that books can, the more sort of, humdrum sort of things that don't feel big on a screen, but when you read them, there's a lot more context to them and whatever. So maybe for fans of the book, this was a sort of exciting sort of thing to see the smaller moments they didn't expect to see on a movie.
There you go.
So I'd be curious. I'd be curious if that's the case. But
well, shots fired. There you go, folks. So send us your thoughts on Hunger Games Part 3, Part 1.
Part 3, Part 1. That is crazy and accurate.
Well, that brings us to the end of our pre-Thanksgiving episode. Short and sweet. I think this is the shortest one we've done in a while, Brian.
Boom.
Yeah. We came in, we did our thing, and we left. So that's a metaphor for something, but it's too late. I was trying to connect the dots there, but I lost it. I lost that thread. But of course, we'll have plenty to say in 2 weeks on all the latest stuff coming out between now and then. In the meantime, where can people find you online, Brian?
Everythingbrian.blogspot.com, Brian with an I. And I do have a Twitter. I'm going to beat Zaki to it, which is @everythingbrian. Come wish me a happy Thanksgiving over there, and I'll wish you a happy Thanksgiving back.
And you'll add to his tweet tally so that he'll hit double digits. That's the.
I might work my way into double digits.
There we go. We're fingers crossed. And of course, you can find me at zakiscorner.com. That's ZAKIS Corner, and also at the Huffington Post, where my movie reviews go up regularly, as does the MovieFilm Podcast. You can also find me at Twitter, also at Zaki's Corner, and we are at MovieFilmPodcast.com. We're also at Facebook.com/MovieFilmPodcast, and you can email us at MovieFilmPodcast@gmail.com. Also, hit up iTunes and Stitcher Radio, write us a review, give us a star rating, let us know how we're doing. The more you tell us, the more we can benefit you, hopefully. So, on behalf of my colleague Brian Hall, this is the Movie Film Podcast. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Welcome, friends.